All right, guys, I am adding on another short video each day for this week to talk a little bit more about reading. And we're going to do some reading together, and then we're going to talk about retelling what we just read to someone else. And I'm going to show you how to do that, and you can practice it at home with a brother, sister, grandma, grandpa, mom, and dad, whoever is with you. So I have a book that I am going to read to you, and then we are going to talk about the important parts of this book today. So the book that I have for you is called Blizzard Blackout, and I'm going to read it to you, and then at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about it. Blizzard Blackout. Elle looked out the window. Snow was coming down all over the city. The lights were out as far as she could see. "Why are all the lights off?" asked her little brother Ben. "The storm made the power go out," said Mom. Dad lit candles. He put them all around the apartment. Elle hugged Ben. "Just think, we can pretend we live in a time before power," she said. The family played board games until the candles melted. The power was still out the next day. "What about school?" asked Ben. "The school is closed," Dad said with a tired smile. Elle grabbed Ben's hand. "Just think, we can spend the day doing whatever we like," she said. The family told spooky stories in front of the fire. The power was still out the next day. "I'm cold," Ben said with a frown. Everyone looked unhappy. Elle brought out extra coats and blankets. "Just think, we can wear our favorite coats all at the same time," she said. The family squeezed into as much clothing as possible. Suddenly, all of the lights turned on. The power was back. The family cheered. "Just think, now everything can finally go back to normal," said Elle. All right. So, in that story, we learned about a girl named Elle and what happened with her family during a blizzard. So I am going to pull up our Promethean board, and we are going to talk about what happens at the beginning, the middle, and the end of this story. And on the board, I am going to write some different words that we can use when we're telling what happens at the beginning, the middle, and the end. So when I'm talking about the beginning of the story, I might use the words, let me change my font here so it's a little smaller. I might use the words first. I might also say in the beginning. Okay. Also, we also want to make sure that we talk about who is in the story. So we know that the girl's name is Elle. Okay. And so we want to make sure that we talk about her. And we also want to say what happened. So the power went out. And we can also maybe, along with Elle, we could probably talk about, say that she was at her home. So the setting, we could say that Elle is at home. We could even say that she's with her family. Okay, so all of those things talk about what happens at the beginning of the story. And so I can use those words to help me. So I'm going to say in the beginning. In the beginning, Elle and her family were at home and the power went out. Okay, so that's what happens at the beginning. So now we want to talk about the most important parts that happened in the middle. Okay, so I can use the words next. I can use the words then. I can also use the words in the middle. The characters are still the same, so I might want to add in maybe Ben, her brother. So we'll still use her name Elle and Ben. We could also maybe add mom and dad. And we want to talk about, what do they do in the middle of this story? What happens in the middle of this story? So we can, I don't want the paint. Some things that happen in the middle of the story, well, if I'm not sure, I can go back and I can look at the book. So let's go back to the book and let's see what happened in the middle. So the power went out and, oh yeah, the family played games. So that's something that I can add in the middle, is that the family played games. We can also talk about that they didn't go to school. Ben and Elle did not go to school. We could also talk about how they told spooky stories in the middle. And they also put on their coats, hats, and gloves while they were inside. So all of those things happen in the middle of the story. So Elle, Ben, mom, and dad. In the middle of the story, we are going to add here that I'm just going to write games, and then I'm going to write stories, and then I'm also going to write coats because they put on their coats. All right. And then now we want to go back and we want to look and see, okay, what happened at the end of the story? Suddenly, all the lights turned on. The power was back. So we could say at the end of the story, everything went back to normal. So we are going to make sure that we just use the words, we can use the words finally. You could say in the end. Come on, my computer's slow. In the end. And then we can also say, we want to tell the important parts. What's the most important part? Power is back. So now, after I make this chart, I can use it to help me as I retell someone in my family what happened in Blizzard Blackout. So here's what mine would look like, and I want you to try this on your own with your own book. In the beginning, Elle and her family were at home and the power went out because of a blizzard. In the middle of the story, Elle, Ben, mom, and dad played games, they told stories, and they tried on different coats while the power was still out. At the end of the story, the power finally came back on. So I want you to read a book of your own. You can read one of the books that I attached to our learning document, and I want you to retell the story, what happened at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. If it helps you, make a chart like I just did, a 3-column chart, beginning, middle, and end. And I want you to do the same thing. Have fun reading.